Welcome to this NPTEL course on Practical English, Learning and Teaching. We start with the first session, and first let me spell out a little in detail what is this course about, and then we will see how we are planning to execute the course. This course, Practical English, Learning and Teaching, is actually based on a program on English proficiency, which we have been running in IIT Kanpur for slightly more than 2 years. And first, let me tell you what is the motivation of this English proficiency program. Many of you know that an alarmingly large majority of educated Indians try to manage their entire life with a very poor command over English, and therefore their professional life gets seriously disturbed. The question is why this is the situation. The reason is that they just avoid putting 1 year of serious study and serious effort to get their English in order, and somehow many of them keep on thinking that learning English and achieving mastery over this language is extremely difficult and that they will not be able to do. And nobody has categorically told them that English is just a language. The way you can learn any other language, you can learn English and you can master it. It should not be very difficult. And millions of people have done that before you, and at the same time as you, there are another million or another large number of people who are doing it every day. You can do it, and it requires roughly 1 year of serious effort, serious study to improve the language proficiency, after which you can reap the benefit of that labor for next 50 to 60 years. Now, why this is the situation? I am talking here about educated Indians. At the right age of learning, which is childhood, in India it is difficult for majority of children to learn the English language the way they learn their mother tongue, because for the purpose of a child, English proficiency is not needed, because at home, at playground, at school, with friends, he doesn't need English. Besides, in order to know the external world, he doesn't have to rely on English. He does that with his own language in his locality. So for his own purposes, he doesn't need it. It is a different matter that in his later life he will need it. At that time it will be vital. But at the current time, since the child does not need it, he has no urge to learn it. Apart from that, the background of a majority of children is not conducive to a continuous, thorough learning of English. Apart from that, parents of majority of children are not conscious regarding the necessity of teaching English to their children and the way to do it. Besides, many of the teachers entrusted to teach English to children have inadequate competence. Either their English is weak, or they don't know how to take the knowledge to the children. And apart from that, it is difficult for them because there is no coherent material and method by the help of which such a teaching is possible. So for that, what is needed in our country is a systematic course material and methodology, and of course dedicated teachers. Even after the childhood is over, when the command of the life passes on to the hand of that person himself, at that time also he finds a lot of difficulty in acquiring the language, which he actually has to use in his profession, in his work, in his life throughout. There are several reasons in adulthood which are different from the reasons of childhood. During adulthood, attention diverts to other practical things of life, and learning cannot be the focus of a person. He is mired with a lot of responsibilities, a lot of pressures, work pressure, and of course his priorities change. His family becomes first priority, not his learning. Apart from that, there are other social disturbances, so he cannot concentrate on his studies. Besides, even after all this, in adulthood, there is another problem, which is the opinion and autonomy. In adulthood, a person can decide whether he will take up studies or not. In childhood, if the parents say that you have to study, then children study. They have no other way. But in adulthood, they have the autonomy. They can decide that I will study later. Right now, I do some other important work. And therefore, a very important work, which was study, actually gets into the lower priority. Besides, in adulthood, people have a lot of opinion. So they are not so malleable that they can be molded by even a good teacher. And in adulthood, if somebody wants to learn something new with a real dedication, then apart from systematic course material, he needs to have a lot of resolve, patience, and discipline. For people in general, whether children and adulthood, children also sometimes fall prey to these weaknesses. Some people have false sense of knowledge. I know a lot. And that stops the flow of knowledge to a great extent. And sometimes people who actually do not have adequate background shirk from going to a learning program, basically because they think they already know enough. And then, diametrically opposite, there is a false sense of inability. Some people think that English belongs to others who are more fortunate, and I perhaps don't deserve it. Who says so? If you want to acquire a particular knowledge, of course you deserve it. Your wish to acquire it is your license to acquire it. So there should be no feeling that somebody is so low that he does not deserve to learn a language, because as I told you earlier, that it is just a language which millions of people know, millions of people are learning every day. It cannot be very difficult. Apart from that, typically it is human nature that there is a lethargy of taking up something new, and sometimes people think that maybe the effort that I spend in this will go waste, I will not succeed, I will not learn enough, so why spend the effort? This is a very negative way of thinking, and it should be fought against. And people don't want to fail. They don't want to try and fail. And that way they never try. Besides, in adulthood, people find that learning, even if they wish to learn it, that becomes optional. There is no compulsion to do it. And they feel that it is of limited utility. How much I will learn now? In adulthood, people think in that terms. So, and of course, they also have lack of confidence on the teacher or the method or the subject matter material used to teach. Though the bottom line is that you will learn a subject if you have the willpower. Even if the material is not the top class, even if the teacher is not top class, if your will is top class, then you will succeed. This is something which people must bear in mind. And the need is, of course, trust that one can do it, patience to continue doing it, discipline to follow the path once taken thoroughly till the end, and of course long-term commitment. This course that we are starting today is of only a duration of 20 hours. Yet I am talking about long-term commitment, because within a span of 20 hours, a language is not learned. I am telling you that the English is just a language. It cannot be very difficult. But then it is not that easy. No language is that easy that you can learn it in 20 hours. And that is why I am talking about a long-term commitment. This 20 hours duration is just going to show you the way, along which you will make some improvement during these 2 months, and after that the journey continues. So you have to keep that in mind, that starting from a very rudimentary level, you do not expect that at the end of 2 months you will know English a lot. From whatever level you start, you will make an improvement. But the most important thing is that we are trying to show you the way along which you can proceed even after the completion of the course and continue learning more and improving your command more and more every day. And in order to go on learning and making improvement in your learning, you need to have the will to understand any level of English and express almost anything, any feeling, any thought in English. This kind of a feeling should not stop you that, oh, this is Walter Scott, of course that I cannot read. Why? If you cannot read it today, don't say that I cannot, this of course I cannot read. You say that this I postpone. Right now I read something, I study something which is of my level, but never say that these things are anyway not for me. Okay? So have the will to eventually be capable of reading and understanding anything that is written in the language. On the other side, if you have a complicated thought, if you have a complicated feeling which you want to express, don't say that this kind of thing of course I cannot express in English. You can, perhaps not today, perhaps not immediately, perhaps not within 30 seconds, but if you put in enough effort, you can express any complex feeling, any complex thought in the language once you master it. And you need to set the agenda for yourself to learn the language up to that level. At this stage, I would like to enumerate the different segments of people whom we are expecting in the audience of this course, which we will be interchangeably calling PELT and EPP, because PELT is the current forum in which we are offering the course, Practical English Learning and Teaching, and EPP is the parent program from which we are having the ongoing activities. So this course is to a great extent for school teachers because they build the future of the country, and of course college and university students who are the present of the country, present of the society, and parents of young children who want to ensure good English education for their children and do not want to rely completely on the societal arrangements for doing the same. Besides, professionals, particularly in secretarial and administrative job, who need English for their day-to-day professional work. And there are many other groups who can benefit themselves from this course and who are taking this course right now in this MOOC NPTEL program. People in all the above categories who think that their English needs improvement, and then there are people who are not sure whether their English is all right and they want to find out. Then there are people who think that they know good English and would like to have it confirmed or certified. And apart from that, there are teachers, there are people who want to find out an effective way to teach English. And make note that the promise of this course is not that it will make an expert out of you starting from any level. That is not the promise. It will depend, the proficiency acquired through this course will certainly depend on the starting proficiency of the participant. What the course promises is that starting from any level, it will make a significant improvement in your English proficiency, of course, if you follow it sincerely. And apart from that, it gives you a bonus advantage which you did not try for and which we did not try to give you. And that bonus is that beyond a threshold, when your English proficiency goes beyond a point, then you will notice so much power, so much beauty in the language that you will feel that it is a delight, it is a blessing. Still, I am not focusing on this issue because this perhaps can be told not only about English but about many other languages. Almost every human tongue is blessed with so much sweetness, so much power and so much beauty that acquiring any new language is an advantage in itself. But right now we are focusing on English and we are trying to promote English language because in today's world that is necessary for survival and prosperity. And I am advocating to you that you put a lot of effort in the education of your children and yourself in this language, so that you prosper and you contribute in the prosperity of the society. Why? Based on what feature we think that EPP or this PELT course or this way of teaching has this promise that it will give significant improvement starting from any level. The reason is that EPP course has a number of important features. The study material and the scheme of teaching has been designed in order to cater to the teaching of a language which is not the first language, not the mother tongue of the student. It is a systematic scheme, and it has a representative and suggestive set of materials with the help of which you can make appropriate step-by-step progress. And in this, the material and the course material and the teaching method are both rolled together, in the sense that the program to begin with is actually a program not only to acquire proficiency in the subject, but also to acquire proficiency in teaching the subject. And it starts from the base and targets till the top. And of course, in doing this, since we have already assumed that our target audience, our target student does not learn English as his first language, then the question arises, what is his first language? And whatever is his first language, we call that first language as CLL, Common Local Language, in which the classroom is generally proficient. And since the audience already has enough proficiency in a common language, so we take the help of that common language proficiency in order to communicate our ideas in many instances. And in this particular case, we are taking Hindi as the common local language, and that is why a basic aptitude in Hindi will be expected from the participant to follow through the course properly. One great feature of this EPP course is scalability for audience of different backgrounds. That is, the same material with the same scheme, through minor adjustments of coverage and details, can be given to school children as well as to school teachers and other adult participants.
Okay, I have a question. Thing is that we go through many literary works of many people, but it is not quite possible for us to understand each and every meaning of the words. So, how does it affect the comprehension of the passage that we go through?
Well, quite often you can follow the meaning of the passage even without knowing the meanings of many words. And typically, a strategy to consult the dictionary for every word that you find new in a book is very counterproductive, because that way you will never make any progress in a good book. And what happens is, from the context, many times you understand the meaning of the passage, and at the same time you get a rough idea about the meaning of that word also, which you did not know. And all the time you are not conscious that you have recently developed a sense for the meaning of a particular word, but that sense stays in your mind. And when you encounter same words in frequent places, in different contexts, then you develop a more and more coherent picture of the meaning of that word. And then perhaps one day you decide that, let me see what is the real dictionary meaning of this word, and then you see that. So that is the way it is. Thank you.